Hi everyone, Jennifer Pinter here. If we haven't met before, I help founders and CS account management teams with their account management programming, and super excited to be here today with Alex.
Yeah, awesome. My name is Alex Raymond. I am the founder of Amplify. I'm the author of the Growth Department. And look, really excited to get into this. I spend a lot of my time and energy on working on account management, getting it to work, and having this be something that really turns into the growth department versus what we think about as kind of glorified sales or something along those lines. And you might have come across the Account Management Secrets podcast. If you haven't, I super highly recommend it. It's a great podcast. Every single week, we are talking about things like how to build the growth department, QBRs, account plans, how to get stickier with your customers, all that kind of stuff. And so I want to make sure you're aware of it. It's on your radar. It comes out every Friday. Super great resource for everyone. In addition, we're going to be getting into the book today. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how this book can help you pitch your role, pitch your job better, and really create a foundation for durable growth for your organization. So that's what we're going to be getting into. And when Jennifer and I started to talk about what we wanted to do here for these sessions, what we thought would be fun was, instead of doing the same webinar over and over like we've done a couple of times, let's do a sequence. And so this is part one of four. There are four elements here. We're going to be talking today about the concept of the account management tax. I'm going to talk about what that means. We're going to talk about how that shows up or how that manifests in your world. Next week, so same time, next Tuesday, we're going to talk about the job, the role. What is the role that we're growing into? How does that look? What does that feel like? What can we expect from that? Then in 2 weeks from now, on March 17th, we're going to be talking about the economics, the business case behind the growth department, behind expansion, retention, cross-sell, upsell. And we're going to talk about the business case so that you are well equipped for a conversation with your CFO, for example. And then in the final session on March 24, we're going to talk about how to build a system and why that's something that you want to be thinking about. So this goes into our thoughts, our definition of building the growth department, and it's a progression that we're going to go through. So hopefully you can all join us for the entirety of these four sessions here. So with that, I think we're going to kick off with a quick little prompt and poll. Jennifer, you want to take this and let's see what people have to say here.
Yeah, definitely. This is not a death by PowerPoint. We want to hear from you. So go ahead and put in the chat and tell me, what is the North Star metric or metrics that you regularly review today with your executive leadership team? And if you're currently in between roles, just put what you had in your last role. Also, would love to know who you are and where you're joining from today, and what your role is, if you want to pop that into the chat.
Those are good ones. So what are some examples, Jen, that you might expect to see here?
Net revenue retention, gross revenue retention. I've seen things like time to first value, or successful like onboarding completion within a certain date, right? Definitely retention is a common one for account management and CS. I had too much coffee today, Alex. And the other one I see a lot is expansion revenue, right? So if you're in a true strategic role, some people are being compensated based on how much expansion revenue they're hitting.
That's good. Those are good. And I see some coming into the chat here, which is awesome. Make sure to set it to show everybody so everyone can see what you're saying. And I'm very glad to see that so far, at least, I don't see NPS here. So that's a bugbear of mine. We're not tracking NPS. Good. Not useful. If you read the book, it's not useful for anything here in terms of actual productive value for your customers. Great. So we're doing some cool stuff here. We're tracking renewals, contract values. We're tracking net dollar retention. Tell me, what else are you guys tracking? What else does your CEO care about? So you have a great big list of things that you're tracking for you and your job and your team. What is it that is getting escalated and elevated to the CEO level? What does that person care about? Is it software consumption, like someone's saying here? What are we when we're doing revenue and retention, for example? What are we actually tracking? What do people really care about? So we're asking this because we want to figure out what are the things that are most valuable to the executive team, right? Like how are you starting to speak the language of the executive team? And I'm going to show how this translates into the topic for our conversation here today. And it starts with this thing that I call the curse of the unsung hero. Curse of the unsung hero. I would guess that many people on this call are experiencing this right now. You can put up your hand if you want to and say, yes, this is me. But here's the basic problem that I'm talking about when I say the curse of the unsung hero. In a typical B2B organization, 73% of revenue comes from existing customers every year. Okay, so almost 3/4 of all revenue comes from existing customers. That's what you're responsible for. So you generate most of the revenue, and by the way, literally 100% of the profits of the business. And you don't get the recognition, you don't get the resources, you don't get the pats on the back or the team or the money or there's a lot of things that you are not getting as a result. So you're delivering all this value. You are under-resourced, appreciated maybe, but certainly under-resourced. And as a result, you don't have the infrastructure around you that you could expect from a team that delivers the vast majority of the company's revenue every year. And so that's the curse, right? The curse is we do all this work and we don't get the resources that we need. But we're going to take it another step. So what does that mean? Like what actually happens then? Well, if we're not properly resourced and if we don't have the tools and the infrastructure and the things that we're going to need to really succeed, then when problems or challenges or issues arise, what do we have to do? We have to make up an answer on the fly. Like we have to just go out there and figure it out, which is another way of saying heroics. I call this heroics. So you're doing all these heroic acts to, save the customer, keep the customer from falling off a cliff, pull in the renewal so it closes this quarter, get that expansion deal, all this kind of stuff. So you're doing all these heroics because no one understands the value that you're providing for your company. So that's the sequence here. Now, what does that then mean? Typically, and again, like if you agree with me, put a note in the chat. If you disagree with me, also put a note in the chat. Here's what happens: you go do all these heroics, and then you pat yourself on the back, right? You say, "Oh, I did all this stuff, and my team is out there, and they're burning what's the expression? Burning the midnight oil, or burning the candle at both ends, and we're doing all this crazy stuff." And we think that's a good thing, right? We think that means that it's showing that we've got heart and we've got hustle and that we're committed. But here's what actually is happening. You are simply papering over and fixing symptoms as opposed to fixing the actual problem. And you think you look smart, energetic, resourceful, talented by doing all this stuff. But actually what your boss, your leadership team is seeing is they see someone who's just spinning their wheels. They see someone who's just out there doing stuff, and they're wondering, why aren't we fixing the real problem? And so when we over-rely on heroics, then what we wind up doing is actually making ourselves look less effective rather than more effective. Maybe it's a little bit extreme for me here to say it makes you look foolish, but it makes you look less effective because your CEO wants a leader who is fixing the problems and installing a system and making the business repeatable and making the business predictable. And if we spend too much time twisting ourselves into a pretzel to solve a random problem, we're relying on heroics. We actually don't look like leaders. So it's a total paradox within here. Maybe you're feeling this right now. I see some people here in the chat are saying, yes, this is happening to me. This happens. And so this is what we are going to talk about today. Like, what is the root cause here? What is going on? And then toward the end, we're going to talk about what might we do about it. And then as we progress through this series of 4 webinars, we're going to talk about how we might be addressing or fixing some of these issues. So that's where we got right now, right? We have this unsung hero thing. That's why Jennifer started with that question of, what are we tracking at the CEO or executive level? What do they care about? Because that got us all in that frame. Jennifer, what do you think about what you're seeing so far in the chat? Any surprises for you?
No, and actually, what's really coming to mind to me, Alex, is we were on a call a few weeks ago with someone, and they were talking about how a lot of times leadership will refer to their team as support, right? And there's this lack of clarity around the financial impact of the account management team. And what we want to do is be shifting that narrative and that clarity within the org. And when we're running around solving all the problems and being helpful, we're falling into this exact topic. And that's what was coming up to me, is that exact conversation of like, how do I get people to stop referring to us as support?
That's a very good question. It pisses me off to no end when this account management gets referred to as support. No, 100% agree with you. So let's talk about the account management tax. This is a tax that everybody is paying. You are probably paying it in varying degrees based on your company, but everyone universally, every company pays this. Most companies are not aware of it, but it is reducing your revenue, it's reducing your growth rate, it's reducing your profits, and it's reducing the value of your company. It also is contributing to things like employee burnout. So it's universally a bad thing. We're going to talk about the account management tax, and I'm going to show you real examples of how this is manifesting and how this is showing up. This is not just some cute little poster idea. This is not a Post-it note. This is an actual thing that's happening inside of your company. So what does this mean? What does the account management tax actually mean? What form does it take? I'm going to lay out 4 things. The first is missed expansion opportunities. So you're sitting with your team on a book of business. You've got a book of business, could be $5 million, could be 50, could be 100, but you got a book of business and your job is to grow that. Your job is to say, I have this book of business, this portfolio, how do I make it bigger? How do I grow it? How do I find expansion opportunities? The account management tax means we are spinning our wheels, we are focused on a lot of internal stuff, we are recreating the wheel all the time, we are less efficient than we could be, we're doing internal admin work instead of customer-facing stuff. And what does that mean? It manifests as we are missing the opportunity to expand with our customer because maybe our incentives are out of whack. Maybe I'm spending too much time on my $20,000 account instead of spending more time with my $2 million account. And therefore, I'm missing the potential to expand. I'm missing the bigger picture because I'm too focused on the weeds or I'm being pulled in too many directions. So that's number 1. We're missing expansion opportunities. Number 2, your renewal forecast is all over the place, right? Is my renewal coming in? Yes or no? This quarter, at this amount? Do I know the steps? Do I know what's going on here? Those are things that get impacted by the account management tax. If I can't answer those, it's usually because I don't have a common system. I don't have a proactive approach to my renewals. I don't really ask the tough questions of my customer to understand what all the different moving parts are. All that stuff in there is part of how I reduce volatility. When you think about what does your CEO care about? I didn't see anybody say forecast reliability or predictability of our forecasts in the chat. Maybe you put it there, but I didn't see it. Your CEO wants your organization to be running smoothly, like a well-oiled machine. They want you to get to within plus or minus 3% of your forecast. They want to know that when you put a number on the board, you're going to hit that. And one of the ways that the tax comes to life is we get too much volatility in our renewal rates. So, I mean, Jennifer, you and I have seen this a lot where people are off by huge margins, right? I had John Huber on my podcast last week, and he was talking about it at a time when he was off by like 25% or something like that. And those are big, big issues.
Yeah, it's really hard to run a business financially if you cannot predict which customers are staying or going.
100%. So do we have clarity on the forecast and that? Number 3, knowledge attrition. This is like every leader's nightmare. is your star performer, account manager, or CSM, who's been with your company for 7 years and has a very good book of business and knows everybody and knows everything. They leave. They walk out the door and they leave a gigantic hole. It's a huge, huge emptiness in their wake. And what happens then? Well, do you have a way of filling in those knowledge gaps? Do you have the information that you need? Do you have a bench, to use a sports analogy, are there people on the bench who you can promote into that role right away, who can take over so that there's no hiccup, so that there's no issue, for example? That is a major, major gap and hole. It causes, obviously, a lot of friction internally, but imagine what happens on the customer side, right? Customers been working with the same person for a number of years, and then all of a sudden they get introduced to somebody else, and they get asked, what? The same boring questions that they've been answering for years. They're going back through over stuff that they've covered before. Customer gets frustrated. None of this is a good situation for anybody. So the tax takes its toll on our internal knowledge as well. And if we're not smart about how we capture it and manage it, then we're just setting ourselves up for more failure down the road. And then the fourth is reduced credibility. I mentioned this a little bit. I hinted at this in point number 2 when we talked about the forecast. And also when we talked about the curse of the unsung hero and what your CEO cares about. Your CEO wants to be able to hand you this function, right? And say, you're in charge, go run it, take care of it. I want to be able to trust the numbers. But if they see that your team is doing all these crazy things, all these heroics, if they see that your forecast isn't within a certain band, if they see when someone leaves, it causes a lot of stress and anxiety, if they get hit with surprise churn or bad news that they didn't see coming, all that reduces your credibility. And this is an issue because people start to trust the team less and they trust the forecast less and they say, what's going on here? They start asking all these questions. So these are manifestations of the account management tax. So there's a lot here. It's pervasive. Like I said, it's persistent. I mean, I would love to hear, and we have discussed a slide here. I would love to hear what people think about this. Jen, you wanna share our thinking behind this question?
Yeah, I mean, it's how does this show up in your team today, right? And I think sometimes we get so stuck in the business and firefighting mode of our day-to-day managing accounts that we forget to take a step back, and we're doing things the way we've always done them, right? Because they're habit. And it's actually taking a step back and saying, okay, where can we be doing better? And this is what this question is to me. It's like, how are we spinning our wheels as a team in the account management space, and where are these things slipping through the cracks? And I'd love to hear from people. Alex, we've talked to hundreds and hundreds of companies over the last 6 years of everything from all the notes and account data lives in this person's head, right? We can't make sense of it in the CRM. They won the lottery, they're gone, and now all of a sudden it's what's going on with this account. Fair question, yeah. Or there's no operational standard of what good looks like, right? And that's that scaffolding of, what is the account management expectation? Does everybody have the same language, the same idea? Are we operating consistently? So I'd love to hear from people. It got quiet in here.
Put it in the chat. Yeah, put it in the chat. Now, recognize everyone, you are not alone. So if you are admitting to something that may not be perfect in your world or in your company, that's perfectly okay. You are certainly not alone. This shows up absolutely everywhere. So we've got one comment: single point of failure. Yes, absolutely. No appropriate backfills. Yes, absolutely. Those are big, big issues. What else? Tell us what else is going on for you out there in your world. Don't be shy. Warm up your fingers. Open up the chat. Pop something in here we want to see, because we also learn from one another, right? So there's a lot of people on this call, 30-something people on this call live right now. You want to learn from one another. Share your experiences. What's going on? Yes, startups, not enough time to focus on expansion. For real. Knowledge attrition happens. All these things are true. And first of all, you're not alone. The second thing is, this is not normal, right? It's not okay. Just because you've been living with these issues or symptoms for a while does not mean that it's okay. It's not okay. Our job is to fix it. Our job is to not have these issues. It's to have a system in place. That's what we're going to be building here over the next series of sessions together. So these are great. These are great comments here and conversations. I love hearing the stories around, new priorities stealing from other priorities. That's a great way to guess what? Screw up an expansion because you're chasing it and then you get pulled in some other direction and the customer vanishes, or the customer, could potentially even buy from somebody else. That happens too. Firefighting is a major one. So thank you very much for sharing that one, Dan. So what are some of the signs? I just talked about some of the manifestations. Let's get even more specific here about one of these. And, you all know the dagger in the heart of a surprise churn, right? It's like up there with the worst experiences in life. Something you didn't see coming, and then you get that email, Tuesday, 4:45 p.m., and they say, hey, it was really nice working with you, but we've decided not to continue, right? It's like somebody's literally stabbing you in the heart. Because not only is it unwelcome information and you don't feel good about the what's coming, but the more important thing is you didn't see it. You didn't know that this was happening. And so when that happens, number one, you feel terrible. Number two, you have to go tell your boss and your CEO, why didn't I see this coming? Why didn't I have an early warning system in place? Why didn't I have the right customer information? Why didn't I have the right intelligence about what was going on? Why didn't I see the signals? Why didn't I see the signs? So this is like number one, most awful, most terrible, yet not that uncommon account management problem is, we had this churn, we didn't see it coming. That's a major issue for all of us. We talked about this one already. Your best account manager decides to go pursue other opportunities or whatever, and all of a sudden you can't get a hold of their accounts. Like the big fancy logos, big fancy names don't return your calls, they ghost you, they don't show up, they don't care about your attempts to engage with them, and then everybody's risk warnings just start going bonkers. So that one for sure happens too when we're overly concentrated in one person, we're not sharing information. That one also super, super hurts. Number three, if your forecast is off by plus or minus 10% in the last 3 quarters or 3 of the last 4 quarters, this is a sign that you're in it. This is a sign that you're paying the tax. Notice that it's actually a plus or minus. So like if you are over 10%, that's almost as bad as being under. I mean, under is always worse, but if you're delivering lots of good news as a total surprise, then that's not great either, because we want to get predictability. We want to not be paying this tax that's ruining our efficiency. We want to be predictable. So if your forecast is off by 10% or more, big problem. Doesn't really matter what direction it is in. And then 4, and this is a big one. Is your team okay? Are the people on your team doing all right? So many people out there today are stressed out, burned out. They're busy. They're up to here. Too much going on, too much change, too much anxiety, too much stress. Guess what? They are not doing their best work. They're not producing their best work. They're not applying their skills. This is a major issue, because if you're operating without a system, you're without a net, you don't have the infrastructure, you're relying on heroics, you don't get the recognition, you're burning everyone way too fast, the engine is running too fast, everybody gets stressed out, and that is not a place where top performers stick around and thrive. So those are 4 very concrete, specific things. Again, I'll show the prompt here and then I'm going to come back to the slide, but tell me how many of these are true for you right now? 1, 2, 3, all of them? Or Jennifer, do you think anyone's going to vote none?
I will. For myself. No, I don't think so, Alex. I mean, my conversations with people, usually the last one is very true in the CS account management space. Your team is stressed. Oftentimes we're working with too little resources, too many accounts per rep. Somebody went out on leave. It's a lot. Product decided to launch a new thing we weren't ready to support. All those. Let's see.
People are saying here 3 or 4, 3 of these, one of them. look, this is a big deal. This is meaningful. It's important. It is not normal. We do not have to be living like this. We don't have to be in this pickle of living through all this stuff all the time. Right? So I want people to get out of the idea that this is normal. All I have to do is power through. There's no power through happening here. This is a do or die moment for us, and we want to start fixing it. We want to start addressing it.
I did want to add too on the prioritization and having understanding what the jobs to be done are and being able to prioritize them quickly and efficiently is really crucial when you're feeling stressed and overwhelmed. And so that's why having clarity and a system around how you manage accounts is really important, so you can think quickly and act appropriately.
Yeah, definitely. All right, onwards. So what do you do about this? Like how do we think through the implications here? Jennifer, do you want to take this slide and just kind of walk through what this would actually mean and what this would look like, and how to start wrapping our heads around this particular post-sale tax, the account management tax?
Yeah, I mean, but the famous saying is what gets measured gets improved, right? So if we don't know what our net revenue retention is or our retention numbers, we don't know what these numbers are. We don't know if we're making progress towards them. So obviously, like get your data and your metrics aligned, and make sure you know what they are. And then let's see. So what did you spend last year on post-sale headcount and tools? Like understanding where you're investing. Are those investments helping? Are they helping your team be more efficient? Are they helping you avoid surprises? Are they helping you expand revenue? And if they're not, then what are we doing with those tools?
Yeah, and the flip side is, can we go to the CFO, for example, and compare what we need and what we're getting funded for versus what net new sales is needing and getting funded for? Yeah,
definitely. And then what revenue was lost to churn or contraction that you didn't see coming. So that's the surprises, right? I talk to a lot of leaders, and it's, okay, what's going on? We're trying to diagnose what's happening within our churn number. So we go back and we look for trends. Were they bad fit customers? Where did they start slipping through the cracks? Was it during onboarding? Was it after second renewal? Identify those key indicators to allow you to hone in on what you need to fix. And the investment of technology, Alex, that's a tough one. Technology and resources.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is you want to start to, first of all, almost every account management leader that I know, they are capable of so much. They're super talented. They have an awesome team, and yet they feel like they need to raise the profile, raise the spotlight on their team. And a lot of times it just simply comes down to connecting the dots for other people in the organization and making sure that people see not just the effort. Everyone's very good at talking about the effort, not just the effort that your team is putting in, but what results are we producing, and claiming them. Like tooting our own horn, claiming them. So when you calculate the tax, you can start to say, look, here's where we're slipping. Here's where we have issues. Here's where we have challenges. Here's what I want to do about it. And that's really what your CEO is looking for, is the here's what I'm going to do about it part, but you want to show the tax first. So where are we going here? Well, over these 4 sessions, we are building the case for a system for post-sale. Account management, customer success, client services, whatever you call it post-sale. And we are building the business case for the system. We're building the mental case, making it very clear how this is going to help us. And one of the most important things that we're going to do along the way is define the role of post-sale, define the role of account management. What does account management do? How do we help the company win and succeed? And it largely comes down to giving clarity to yourself and to the people underneath you, the people on your team, about what it is that we are doing. So the system, the benefits of the system here, 3 things come into this that we are going to use as our guideposts. What is the role? What is the mandate of our team? 3 super simple things. You can see them right here on the screen. Number 1, keep the customers that sales has tried so hard to acquire. right? It costs a lot of time, money, and energy for the sales team to acquire a customer. Our number one job is to keep them. The second is to grow the ones with the most potential. So some of those companies are going to come into as small accounts, and we have the opportunity to grow them. We want to grow the ones that we can. We want to really find the big expansion opportunities. So that's number 2, grow. And then number 3, no surprises. We've talked about this kind of a lot here on the call. No surprises is I'm within my forecast. I see bad news coming. I have a system to help me see bad news coming. And I'm disciplined around how I approach that. So keep, grow, no surprises. It sounds so simple, right? It's just 4 words, these 3 buckets, 4 words. Sounds very simple. None of your team is operating this way. None of your team is thinking this way. They think their job is QBRs, customer sat, talking to product, talking to marketing, wrangling this thing from the customer, negotiating this, that, and the other. They have a list in their mind of 30 or 40 things that are their job. As their leader, I want you to help them simplify that. Keep, grow, no surprises. Keep your customers, grow the ones you can, make sure no surprises along the way. That's what we want to do, and that's what we are getting to. And I want that level of clarity and alignment to be very obvious within your company. I want this to be the foundation, the operational foundation within your company.
Hey, Alex, somebody put in the chat, and this is something that we talked about in our last webinar series, or maybe in our growth mastermind, I can't remember, but Stuart said aptly that obviously some customers will always slip through the cracks, and we had a stat on that and a slide about what is the percentage of customers that are going to churn no matter what, right? Your job as account managers is to know which ones are worth keeping and growing and which ones are not, you don't want to waste your time on. And that's harsh to say, but like sometimes customers are very noisy and they're not a good fit, or there's no expansion potential, and it's better to just let that customer go, right? The point is to avoid the surprise churn of a customer who was a great fit, had a potential to grow, is like shouldn't have churned, right? So absolutely, some customers are going to leave, and we can't sit around beating ourselves up because they left. Just understanding why they left is the goal.
Absolutely. I mean, another way to phrase this is if you spend all your time chasing a $20,000 renewal that's already shaky, that's already on the ropes, and you are ignoring a $500,000 expansion opportunity because all your time's tied up with this little account, you're not doing yourself any favors. You're not doing your company any favors. And you're not even doing your customers any favors. So very important here. Let's go through this last discussion point, Jen.
Yeah, so I love this question because a lot of times people are looking at the goal and they're not thinking about, in order for this to be true, what has to change? And I think we talked about this at one time, Alex. You said, in order for this to be true in my business, what has to change? So think about your operating system as an account management team, as the growth department. What has to change for you to become the growth department, to operate with the same kind of rigor as a sales team? Put it in the chat.
Yeah, what has to change? What has to be different? How does the future have to look? What are the preconditions for making this happen? That's what we're asking about here, right?
There's a saying, and I'm going to say it wrong probably, but it's like something about, if I were to be a fly on the wall in the course of a week and watch you, do your actions match your goals? Would I know what's important to you based on what you're doing? And I think this is like always in my mind, you know?
So people here are saying they need to get better at segmentation, at mapping out renewal stages. Yes, that all is true. What else is happening here? Hopefully sales team does have the rigor. Yes, you never know, but hopefully they do. They certainly have pay a lot of lip service to rigor. We know that. The point is, we can all improve. Where can we go from here? What needs to happen in order for us to improve? Some of that's going to be inside your team, or maybe even inside yourself, and some of it's going to be external. Some inside your control, some outside your control. But can you start to identify what those might be? So here's where we're going. We are building up here because we are launching the Q2 cohort within Amplify. We only open Amplify membership 4 times a year. The window is now open to join Amplify in Q2 starting in April. And the first program that we're launching is called Building the Growth Department. It is 3 sessions of 90 minutes each, the first 3 weeks of April. And the reason that we do it like that is because everyone wants to change their mindsets, their beliefs, their results, and get more recognition. Everybody wants that. The growth department is the way to get there. There's a book about this that I just wrote. Amplify Community has got tons of resources about this. But Jennifer and I wanted to bring it together into a single program to show you how to implement this and make it work. And so today, what we just did is we agitated the problem, right? We stirred the pot. We talked about what's not working. We talked about how we're paying the tax. In the future, I want you to start to be thinking, boy, you know what? That resonated with me. This is reflecting my current reality. I want to fix that. And if you feel that, I want to invite you to come join us within Amplify. The program is 3 sessions, but when you join Amplify, you get access to everything else that we have been doing over the last, 15 months, 18, 16 months, 17 months, something like that. All sorts of stuff, programs and people and networking and all sorts of really cool stuff in there. But I'm sharing this now because we only open 4 times a year. This is the window now to get signed up and ready for the next cohort that starts on April the 8th. It's an application process, so please go to the main website. You're going to get an email about this in a second. Website's amplifyam.com. That's where you can apply, see if you're a fit, learn a little bit more, and then hopefully join the Amplify community. Jen, you want to share more about your experiences with Amplify and the programs that we've run in there? I've got a whole slide on it.
Yeah, it's incredible. I partial to the one I taught, the AI for account managers, and I just nerd out on all the AI tools. So that was really fun. The NRR Growth Mastermind we did in January, that was really incredible. We're actually doing a follow-up with that group, actually next week, I think, right, Alex?
Yeah.
Trying to keep the momentum going quarterly and help people actually make change and adopt these tools within their program instead of just going out, doing a training and saying you're on your own, right? That's what the community is all about. So it's about holding each other accountable, continuing to learn, continuing to build what you're learning within your organizations. And of course, everyone's favorite topic, QBRs.
Well, I like the way you phrase that. Like, let's acknowledge right off the bat, the world does not need more training, right? We're not here saying, come take this training course. We're saying, join a community of like-minded people who are trying to solve these problems, right? Everyone's trying to solve these problems. Here are some ideas. And yes, you can learn from us, you can learn from experts, but more importantly, you can learn from one another. And that is going to vastly accelerate your career and your results. So don't think about this as like just another training program. Think about this as a whole way to rewire how you and your team are operating. So scan the code, it'll take you to the site, or just click on the email that we're about to send you with details. I hope this was helpful and would love to see you again next week. Remember, we're doing 4 sessions that are building up here and continuing to identify the challenges and issues along the way. We'd love to see you at those. If you have any feedback, hit me or Jennifer up on LinkedIn or send us a note. Thanks so much for being here, everybody.
Thank you. Have a great day.